Michelle Carter is a 20-year-old Massachusetts woman who just got convicted of involuntary manslaughter and has been sentenced to 15 months in prison pending her appeal. She was convicted of involuntary manslaughter because she encouraged her boyfriend, who was 18, back in 2014 to commit suicide. She was 17 at the time. Some people, like the YouTuber Mr. Repzion, think that her sentence was too light and that had she been a man, she would have not gotten nearly as light of a sentence as she did. On the opposite end of the spectrum are people like Amanda Knox. Amanda Knox was the woman who was convicted of murdering somebody in Italy, but was later found to be not guilty. She claims in this op-ed piece in the Los Angeles Times that Michelle Carter should not have been convicted of anything because, after all, it was her boyfriend that committed suicide. It was not Michelle that actually killed him. Now, in involuntary manslaughter, they don't necessarily have to prove that you intentionally killed people. In fact, they don't have to prove that you intentionally killed anyone. In a case like this, they would have to apply the but-for criteria. And that is, if it were not for the defendant's actions, the person would still be alive today. So is that the case? If it was not for Michelle Carter's actions, would her boyfriend still be alive? It's possible. If you look at the text messages, it's amazing just how far she went in pushing him to kill himself. Now, just because it is true that he would still be alive if it was not for her actions, that in itself is not enough to prove involuntary manslaughter, but you do at least have to establish that in order to prove involuntary manslaughter or culpability in court. Prosecutors say that Michelle Carter did this because she wanted to get sympathy at school. She wanted to be the girl whose boyfriend committed suicide, and there was nothing she could do to stop him. The defense claimed, which is true, that her boyfriend had been suicidal for a long time and that he most likely would have killed himself even if she had not pushed him to do so. But the thing is, a lot of people go through a period of time in which they're suicidal, but they end up not killing themselves. And if you look at the text messages, and on the day that he died, she really does push him, even though he's actually quite reluctant to kill himself. Here is the complete transcript of all the text messages that they had before he died. He says, okay. She says, Conrad, hey, you there? He says, hey, I fell asleep. She says, it's okay. Why haven't you done it yet, though? He says, I'm too messed up. She says, what are you talking about? He says, my head. She says, you can't think about that. You just have to do it. You said you were going to do it. Like, I don't get why you aren't. He says, I don't get it either. I don't know. She says, so I guess you aren't going to do it then. All that for nothing. I'm just confused. Like you said you were ready and determined. I'm going to eventually, he says. Then it shows him texting over and over again, I really don't know what I'm waiting for, but I have everything lined up. One thing you'll notice throughout this conversation is he often seems to be quite reluctant, but she's really pushing him hard to do so. She really wants him to kill himself. She says, no, you're not, Conrad. Last night was it. You keep pushing it off and you say you'll do it, but you never do. It's always going to be that way if you don't take action. You're just making it harder on yourself by pushing it off. You just have to do it. Do you want to do it now? He says, is it too late? I don't know. It's already light outside. I'm going to go back to sleep. Love you. I'll text you tomorrow. No, she says. It's probably the best time now because everyone's sleeping. Just go somewhere in your truck, and no one's really out right now because it's an awkward time. If you don't do it now, you're never going to do it. And you say you'll do it tomorrow, but you probably won't. She then corrects herself, indicating that she meant tonight, not tomorrow. She says, love you. He says, thank you. She says, for what? Are you awake? He says, yes. Are you going to do it today? She says. He says, yes. She says, like in the daytime? He's like, should I? She says, yeah, it's less suspicious. You won't think about it as much, and you'll get it over with instead of waiting until the night. He says, yeah, then I will. Like where? Like I could go into any enclosed area. She says, go in your truck and drive in a parking lot somewhere to a park or something. Do it now, like early. He says, didn't we say this was suspicious? She says, no, I think night is more suspicious. A kid sitting in his car, just turn on the radio and do it. It won't be suspicious, and it won't take long. He says, all right, I'm taking Holly for a walk. She says, okay. He says, I don't know why I'm like this. She says, sometimes things happen and we never have the answers why. He says, like, why am I so hesitant lately? Like 2 weeks ago, I was willing to try everything, and now I'm worse, really bad, and I'm not falling through. It's eating me inside. So you see that he's actually quite reluctant. But she says, you're so hesitant because you keep overthinking and pushing it off. You just need to do it, Conrad. The more you push it off, the more it will eat at you. You're ready and prepared. All you have to do is turn the generator on, and you'll be free and happy. No more pushing it off. No more waiting. He says, you're right. She says, if you want it as bad as you say to do, it's time to do it today. He's, yep, no more waiting. She says, okay, I'm serious. Like, you can't even wait till tonight. You have to do it when you get back from your walk. He says, thank you. She says, for what? For still being there. Being. Then she says, I would never leave you. You're the love of my life, my boyfriend. You're my heart. I'd never leave you. Yet she wants him to kill himself. Then he says, ah. She says, I love you. He says, I love you too. She says, when will you be back from your walk? He says, like 5 minutes. She says, okay, you're going to do it? He's like, I guess. Well, I want you to be ready and sure. He does a tongue emoji. What's that mean, haha? He says, I don't know. I'm freaking out again. He says, I'm overthinking. This seems to annoy her because she says, I thought you wanted to do this. The time is right and you're ready. You just need to do it. You can't keep living this way. You just need to do it like you said last time and not think about it and just do it, babe. You can't keep doing this every day. He says, I do want to, but like I'm freaking out for my family, I guess. I don't know. She says, Conrad, I told you I'd take care of them. Everyone will take care of them to make sure they won't be alone and the people will help them get through it. We talked about this. They will be okay and accept it. People who commit suicide don't think this much and just do it. Well, it turns out his family is not okay with it, and in fact, his family is suing her for $4.2 million. He says, I know, thinking just drives me more crazy. She says, exactly, you just need to do it, Conrad, or I'm going to get you help. I don't know what she means by she's going to get him help. Does that mean that she's going to, like, call 911, or does that mean that she's going to get somebody to, like, kill him or something? Anyway, then she says, you can't keep doing this every day. He says, okay, I'm going to do it today. Then she even goes so far as to make him promise to kill himself. She says, do you promise? He says, I promise, babe. I have to now. She says, like, right now? He says, where do I go? She says, and you can't break a promise, and just go in a quiet parking lot or something. He says, okay. She says, go somewhere you know you won't get caught. You can find a place, I know you can. Are you doing it now? He says, still have no clue. She says, not finding a place isn't an excuse. She says, where? He says, a park and ride. Ride, she says. He says, that's what it's called. It's like a parking lot. She says, oh, okay, gotcha. Are you going now? He says, either that or go to the beach. She says, why would you go to the beach? He says, well, that's where my mom's going. She says, I thought you were just going to do it. He says, my mom's making me go. When I get home, I'm going to do it. She says, okay, promise? I'm going kayaking anyways. He says, haha, you love kayaking. That's nice, isn't it? She's going to go kayaking after getting her boyfriend to promise to kill himself. Then she says, yep, something I wish we could have done, frown emoji. Well, they're not going to be able to do it after he kills himself, so I don't know what she's talking about. Then he says, make sure you take your son kayaking. She says, haha, of course I will. He says, good, what's up? She says, kayaking, haha. He says, still? She says, yep, but I'm done now. I love you so much, he says. She says, I love you forever. He says, I'm in the worst pain right now, like it's unbearable. She says, I think it's time to do it now then. Do you agree? Conrad, please answer me. He says, I'm still at the beach. She says, oh, okay, sorry. Let me know when you're leaving. He says, okay. She says, sorry, that was my friend who called. She wanted to know if she could borrow my bike because hers has a flat tire, haha. He says, it's all good, don't worry about it. She says, okay. He says, I'm determined. She says, I'm happy to hear that. He says, I'm ready. She says, good, because it's time, babe. You know that. She says, when you get back from the breach, you gotta do it. You're ready. You're determined. It's the best time. Okay, I will. She says, are you back? She says, no more thinking. Yes, no more thinking. You just need to do it. No more waiting. He says, on way back. I know where to go now. She says, where? He says, a parking lot. There's going to be no cars at 9, so that's when I'll be found. She says, okay, perfect. When will you be home? 10 minutes, he says. Haha, that's perfect. She says, okay, well, yeah, I don't know. He says, like, I don't want to kill anyone else with me. She says, you won't. He says, when they open the door, they won't know it's odorless and colorless. She says, you're overturning. They will see the generator and realize you breathed in carbon monoxide. He says, so should I keep it in the back seat or front? She says, in front. You could write on a piece of paper and tape it on saying carbon monoxide or something if you're scared. He says, I was thinking that, but someone might see it before it actually happens. She says, well, wait, the generator is going to be on because you'll be passed out, so they'll know you used carbon poisoning. Dead. Not passed out, I guess. It's not loud, is it? She says, he says, no, not really, laughing my ass off. She says, okay, good. Are you going to do it now? He says, I'm home. She says, okay. He says, ah. She says, what? He says, I don't know, I'm stressing. So once again, he's showing reluctance to do this, but once again, she's going to push him to do it. You're fine, she says. It's going to be okay. You just got to do it, babe. You can't think about it. He says, okay, I got this. Yes, you do. I believe in you. Did you delete the messages? So that's the thing, is that she also wanted him to delete the text messages because she didn't want to get in trouble. But it looks like he did not do that. He says, yes, but you're going to keep messaging me? She says, I will until you turn on the generator. He says, okay, well, I'm bringing my sisters for ice cream. She says, so will you do it when you get back? He says, yup, I'll get right there. She says, okay. He says, I love you. She says, I love you so much. Smiley face back to her. Ha ha, what are you doing? He says. She says, nothing, really, just resting. He says, haha, okay, I'm procrastinating. She says, yeah, haha, I know, are you back? He says, yup. She says, so it's time. He says, oh, it's been time. She says, are you going to do it now? He says, I just don't know how to leave them, you know? She says, say you're going to the store or something. He says, like, I want them to know I love them. She says, they know. That's the one thing they definitely know. I guess he also thinks that she loves him as well. He says, I know I'm overthinking. I've been overthinking for a while now. She says, I know, you just have to do it like you said. Are you going to do it now? He says, I haven't left yet, haha. She says, why? He says, leaving now. She says, okay, you can do this. He says, okay, I'm almost there. She says, okay. Then these next text messages, starting nearly 3 hours later, actually occurred after he had died. She says, please answer me. I'm scared. Are you okay? I love you. Please answer. You're at your dad's, Camden told me. I'll get you help soon, I guess. I thought you actually did it. In addition, there was a phone call that he made to her right before he died. This call was not recorded, but she did admit to a friend that basically what happened was when his car was filling up with carbon monoxide and he realized it was working, he freaked out and got out of the car and called her, and she told him that he should get back into the car. Furthermore, the family of Conrad Roy, the name of her boyfriend, is upset because Michelle Carter won't have to serve any jail time while she is appealing her case. Now, this is not totally unprecedented, but it is pretty unusual. Usually, when you're convicted of a crime and you appeal your case, you have to go to jail. You can appeal your case while you're still in jail, but in this case, she will be allowed to remain free until she loses her appeals. And I can see why Conrad Roy's family would be pretty upset by it. Also, when you consider the text messages that she sent, it's flabbergasting just how far she went in encouraging her boyfriend to kill himself. In the state of Massachusetts, there is no law against encouraging somebody to commit suicide, but in most states, there actually are laws like this. For example, in the state of California, if you encourage someone to commit suicide and they do, you could be facing up to 3 years in prison. I'm not enough of an expert in Massachusetts law to tell you if this case fit perfectly into the criteria for involuntary manslaughter in Massachusetts, but I can say this. It seems like what she did definitely deserves to be punished, and she should be held criminally liable. And I think that 15 months in prison is, at the very least, the minimum of what she should get. I definitely disagree with Amanda Knox and others who say that she should not be convicted of anything at all. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell icon for notifications. And together we shall take over the world. I upload at least 8 videos a month. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at ZorkMid123.